The rising cost of living, Canada's role in the world, rising crime, and economic growth are all top issues for Canadians these days. But these issues are not just pressing concerns for Canadians. They are also the concerns of those in industry. In fact, just this week, Caldwell Securities took out full-page ads in Canada's national newspapers, highlighting, in their view, what Canada used to represent. Joining us now to talk about their bold new ad is Brendan Caldwell, Director at Caldwell Securities Ltd. Thanks for joining us, Brendan.
Hey, Julie. Always great to be here.
Wow. Oh, Canada, who stands on guard for thee? This is a powerful ad. How did it come about?
Well, I think there has been a sense of, alienation, frustration, disconnection at every level with government, whether it's municipal, provincial, federal, and not limited to any particular group. It does seem that right across the country, there is one would have hoped that having gone through the COVID crisis together, we would have been brought together as a country and indeed as a world. But in fact, the opposite has happened. There's been a greater degree of splintering. We as a country are, I think, feeling more divided than perhaps we have at any point in my lifetime. So we took this ad out to give voice to, I think, some of that discontent, and really to put the words to what I think people have been feeling, but maybe not have articulated quite so clearly.
So tell me, what has the response been like?
Oh, it's been largely positive. I say largely positive because it's better than being universally positive. When what does the scripture say? Beware when all men speak well of you. So we've had a few people who ascribe this or that or the other motive. We have this or that or the other position on the environment or on cultural issues, which we don't really. What we're saying is Canada as a united force has been in this world an instrument for good. As we united in a common vision and principle, which is different than the British and French countries that were the theoretical two founding nations. It's different, but incorporates the indigenous nations and is very different than the American nations. We fought a war just to be different from them. So it is a very unique view of the world that I think has been very helpful to the world if we stick together. We are not big enough to make a difference if we're fractured.
So what outcome would you like to see with this message across the board?
I think we would like to see, well, first off, I think individual people having a voice to a much greater degree, or giving voice to individual people, and I think some of the frustrations that they're feeling. And governments perhaps not creating the problems and then claiming to solve them to quite such a degree. The recent taxes, just to pick a one, that the federal government introduced has been about generational fairness. Well, you can't have generational fairness if you're racking up massive amounts of debt. 20 odd years ago, under a Liberal government, so it's not necessarily a partisan thing, under a Liberal government, Canada balanced its budget, and it remained balanced through a good number of years. And now it is not much in the way of generational fairness if we rack up a whole bunch of debt that the younger people are going to have to pay. That my father, whose name appears on the bottom of the ad, isn't going to be around to pay that debt. I might catch the tail end of it, but it's the younger generation, and to be fair to them, I don't think Canada should owe so much money. That's just one example at one level of government, though. Have
any politicians reached out to have a discussion?
No current politicians. I think people have, and Pierre Poilievre had a very good a column in the papers just I think last week, where he said, fire your lobbyists. They don't do any good, and what good they do is actually harm. Go to the people. So that's what we're trying to do here. we'd written this ad and it was actually sent to the papers before Poilievre's column appeared, but we're trying to give voice to, I think, what common people are saying, and to perhaps, just perhaps, influence governments to be responsible to the real needs that people are giving voice to,